Aloha, everyone. Aloha, Envision Kaimuki. Thank you so much for taking the time to hear our stances. Also, I apologize for not being able to attend the forum live on Saturday, but thank you so much for all the work you've done over the years. Real quickly, just want to introduce myself. I'm Derek Turbin, candidate for State House in District 20. I'm born and raised in Honolulu, live in Pololo. I am currently an attorney. I've been working as an attorney, practicing law for the past 7 years. I'm currently the managing attorney for the law firm Gilson Dobb Hawaii. I also worked as a staff attorney at the legislature and spent a little bit of time teaching. I taught at St. Louis. Also spent some time coaching track and field. But yeah, let's just dive right into things and to answer your questions. First question I see is how we should reopen Hawaii to tourism. I guess my answer to this question is, the health and safety of our residents need to be first, but at this juncture, we're doing a good job. Although we've seen some small spikes, we've done a good job of keeping COVID under control here in Hawaii. I think one thing that we should be looking at immediately right now is looking at a bubble tourist economy. I know that one of the reasons why we had to push back our reopening to September 1st was because there's been a big surge of cases on the mainland, in particularly California, where we get a lot of our tourists from. So, one of my suggestions is right now the state should be looking at a tourist bubble economy through places like New Zealand, South Korea, Japan, Taiwan, places that really have COVID under control. On top of that, I think that, the pre-testing, the negative test before entering the state is a good starting point for reopening tourism. I know a lot of the airlines, such as Hawaiian Airlines, is on board with that and on board with handling that process. I do think we need to have some type of approach to ensure that people who enter the state who aren't residents are clean as well, whether it's privately through the hotels or done at airports. So that's my answer to the first question with regards to reopening Hawaii to tourism. With regards to diversifying Hawaii's economy, I think there's a lot of options we have to diversifying it and moving away from our dependence on tourism. One thing that I know is being discussed in Congress that our congressional representatives are looking into is securing federal funding to expand our local farming and agriculture. This can be done just simply through federal funds or also through a federal run Job Corps program that's also being discussed by Congress. And I think that's a really good option. I know we have some local farms, one through the University of Hawaii, another through local groups like Aloha Harvest, who I had the pleasure of working with at some of the food banks I volunteered at. And I think that's a real opportunity to grow our local farming and agriculture and move away from our dependence on importing agriculture and farming products. On top of that, I think we could diversify the economy by growing our tech industry, our tech and our data analytics industries. Those are mobile industries. And I have a few friends who are here in Hawaii right now who are born and raised here from Hawaii, but they work in tech jobs in Seattle, New York, California, but they're here in Hawaii right now because it's safer here and they can work remotely. So I've already talked to them, and they're really interested in talking to schools, doing think tech groups to really figure out ways to grow our data and tech industries here in Hawaii. So that's another way I think we can diversify our economy. Other ways is growing our clean energy industries through things like solar energy, wind energy, ocean energy. I think there is a real opportunity to grow those industries here in Hawaii. And then lastly, our local film and television industry. We're really close to growing that even more. I talked to some individuals working in that industry, and there's an indoor film studio that's in the works to being developed out on West Oahu. There's also a another opportunity to grow that industry by removing the cap on tax credits for films coming into the state. I know there's currently a cap on tax credits, and if we remove them, we can bring in, multiple more television and film, multiple television and film opportunities here, which brings a lot of jobs into the state. As with regards to dealing with the budget deficit, I believe that's going to be, frankly, the biggest challenge besides the economic recovery at the legislature next session. And there's a 3-step process I want us to look into. Actually, I'm sorry, it's 4 steps. A 4-step process into balancing the budget. One, to balance the budget, we got to look into tapping into our rainy day funds, which the legislature did last session. So we got to continue to see what's available with regards to rainy day funds. 2, Hawaii has a really good credit score. So let's look to the federal government and potentially the private market to borrow secure bonds to balance the budget. And I think one of the ways we can do that to ensure that we're not putting a lot of pressure and paying it off is make sure that we can pay it off over a nice long 10-year period of time. Other ways to balance the budget is obviously maximizing federal funding. Maximize as much federal funding that we can receive to balance the budget. And then the last way I think we got to look into balancing the budget is looking to increase our revenue from visitors. If it's either through a flight tax to visitors coming to the state who don't live here, or a point of entry tax at the airport. I think that's a really good way that we can increase our state revenue, but not hit our locals, not hit the people who are living here with more taxes, because our locals are already struggling and fighting to get through this time. So I think that's a good way to balance the budget. The 4 steps I would look to balance the budget. Next, I going back to the COVID-19 crisis in the legislature, what we can do. I think we're doing a lot of good things in limiting the spread and slowing the spread. Obviously, doing as much as we can to enforce wearing masks in public places. If we look into our hotels, our restaurants, doing our best to ensure that people are wearing masks there. Other ways to address COVID-19 here on the state is looking at ways to increase our medical availability through telemedicine. I think is a really good option, as well as ensuring that our frontline medical workers are safe. So ensuring our frontline medical workers have plenty of PPE and other protective gear to keep them safe in the process. With regards to affordable housing, I think a good way to expand our affordable housing is through public-private partnerships. We've done that in the past, but the mistake we've made in those partnerships is we've built affordable housing for sale, and we've built affordable housing to sell, and it frankly just wasn't affordable. So I think our priority needs to be public-private partnerships to build affordable rental housing. On top of that, I think we need to look to, when we do draft the legislation for this affordable housing, we need to make sure that it remains affordable. So write in the rent-controlled pricing for the affordable housing in the legislation to ensure that if we're going to invest in building housing, it remains affordable as a rental for rental housing. Next, I see the next question is about a renewable energy, and I think that there's a lot we can do with that, and investing in renewable energy such as solar energy, wind energy, also ocean energy is an option. On top of that, I think we got to look at reducing carbon emissions, and I know there's a House bill that was proposed. I can't remember the number of the bill, but I'm in support of the House bill that would utilize funds from purchasing gasoline and have that invest in clean renewable energy. When I've talked to residents, I know one of the issues that we see is they want to purchase electric cars, but there aren't enough charging stations on the island. So, using some of the funds from the carbon tax to invest in charging stations as well as other renewable energy options is the way I would approach and attack the renewable energy issues that we face. Next, to promote equity and greater social justice, that's another great question. And I spent a little bit of time in the prosecutor's office when I was in law school. And one of the ways I want to promote greater social justice as well as equity is to move away from mass incarceration, and really focus on only incarcerating people who are risks to public safety or risks to flight risks, because I see, when I was working in the prosecutor's office, I would see too many people incarcerated when they were committed very small minor offenses, very, frankly, petty offenses. So, we move away from our mass incarceration system and focus on only incarcerating individuals who are risks to public safety, as well as flight risks, risks of flight, and that is kind of ingrained. Kind of incarcerating everyone is somewhat ingrained in our cash bail system. So I think we got to look to alternatives to cash bail, and that really will promote social justice. Lastly, I want to look at ways to support Kaimuki. I obviously, Kaimuki is so important to all of us, and I think it starts with supporting the small local businesses in Kaimuki, and that when we look at that, we need to provide as much aid as possible, either through federal funding or through state funding, to our small businesses who have been hit hard by COVID-19 and its effects. That's the first thing. Federal funding to our small businesses on Kaimuki, on Wailea Avenue, as well as the other Kaimuki small businesses, is at the top of my list of priorities. On top of that, I think we can look at ways to help our small businesses in Kaimuki promote themselves online. I know that there's Shop Small Hawaii, a government-funded group that assist small businesses with promoting themselves online and on social media. So I want to work with Kaimuki to have them work with Shop Small Hawaii to find ways to market themselves, do a better job of marketing themselves online, or assistance in marketing themselves online and through social media. And really, I think that that's the most important issue. If I have the honor of serving, it's helping our small local businesses survive, and also helping our helping our local families who have been hit hard by COVID-19, to provide them with rent control, the rent assistance they need, as well as the utilities relief that they need, as well as giving them the unemployment benefits that they need, because we all know how hard our economy's been hit by COVID-19. Lastly, I'll just say that I'd be honored to have your support in this upcoming election. I'm going to always be available to answer any questions, always be available to talk to all of you and support the community in any way I can. And I'd be honored to have your support. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for all you've done for the community. And thank you so much for your time. Take care.